Hi guys, I'm October, but you can call me Toby. Thanks for coming to spend some time with me. Today I am going to try out a crochet kit for a few cute little penguins. Let's hop into it. Okay, let's open up this cute animal crochet set. This is my first time having a look at an all-inclusive, beginner-friendly crochet kit, so I'm not too sure what to expect quality-wise or what these instructions will be like, but let's have a look. The instructions seem pretty straightforward. None of these are complicated stitches, and there are also QR codes for videos, so I'll have to check those out later too. Let's have a look at the quality of the hooks, the stitch markers, the eyes, and this plastic stick. This feels like a glue stick from a glue gun. Still no idea what this would be for. We have a 2mm hook and a 3mm hook. These are just standard quality hooks. We'll see how they go when it comes to using them. And then what looks like normal stitch markers and these little plastic eye pegs. This polyfill just looks like standard polyfill, and our yarn, which is in much more vibrant, pretty colours than I expected. Alrighty, I've zoomed in just so everything's a bit clearer. Now I'm going to get into this yarn. I'm really keen to have a feel and a look at the quality of it. The colours are more vibrant than I expected. I don't know why, I just sort of thought they may have, enhanced the photos on the covers and the box a little bit. This yarn actually feels really soft, which is a lot nicer than I expected. I thought it might be a bit scratchy and tough, but it feels very soft. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'll see how it goes working it up. I'm going to make the pink penguin first, so I'm going to get everything ready to make the pink penguin. And I did see the QR codes, but for this first penguin, I'm going to try making it just using the written instructions and see how that goes. And to start off, I think I will make some of the accessories. Start off with something a bit smaller and quicker rather than the body of the penguin first. So let's get into that. I think I want to try feet first. Starting with a magic ring. The feet are only 3 rounds and they just use single crochets and slip stitches. The last round is just using single crochet to close the previous couple rounds, creating kind of a pointy-ended cylinder sort of shape. But I can see how these would go on. They worked up really quickly. I'll try the beak out next. To do the beak, I do need to split my yarn, so I'm just going to do that quickly. It does say to split it into 2 lots of 3, but from what I can see, all of this yarn is only 4 strands, so I'm just going to split it in half and work with that. Again, working with a magic ring, I'm just using single crochets and slip stitches, and there's only a couple rounds for this one. It's very quick. They're just a tiny little dome, essentially. Okay, let's try out the hat next. This hat's only using a couple of strands, working into a magic ring using single crochets and slip stitches again. There's a couple of rounds for this one, 6 all up, and it is saying to switch to the blue for round 6 as well. Okay, this is not really looking how I expected it to, so I'm not sure what I'll do with that. I don't really want to use it as it is. But let's try out the pattern for the body next. And I am just following the written pattern. I have not looked at the videos yet. Starting with a magic ring again, using single crochet and slip stitches and increases to create this body. There is colour change for the white on the front of the body, and there are some decreases towards the end as well. Only 21 rounds in this, and in the instructions it is mentioning to fill it with fibre at round 19, so when you're almost finished, fill it with fibre. There's no mention of inserting the eyes or how to install the eyes in these written instructions, so that's a little bit odd. The instructions do mention to move the stitch marker up. It says move the stitch marker up with each rod. I'm guessing it means round. And yeah, nothing else is mentioned until put in fibre fill 4 to 6 grams, they reckon. I'm not going to weigh the fibre fill, I'm just going to stuff these until they feel appropriately stuffed, and we'll see how much fibre is left at the end after making 4. Doesn't really give a good description of how to close up the opening at the end either. It just says pick up 12, front loop only, and tighten the opening cut tail, hiding the yarn inside the body. That's not a very good description for a beginner of what to do. I suppose the videos would probably help with that quite a bit. But just reading the instructions, if I didn't know kind of what was expected at the end of creating something that's meant to be closed, I would be quite confused with that, I think. There's no mention of using the needle or anything. Coming to the end of this round, I just do my slip stitch here, my chain one, and I'm going to stop and have a look how this is going. I haven't stopped to have a look yet, and okay, that was not what I expected. Don't think this is meant to be skewing on the diagonal, so I must be doing something wrong, reading something wrong somewhere. Don't know how I didn't notice this. I mean, if I had it inside out, the threads would be covering the white section at least. But yeah, I just did not notice that this was skewing like that. Alright, well, I can't leave it like this, so I guess I'm going to frog it and have another go. Not sure what I read wrong, but yeah, I can't leave it like this, so let's go back and have another go. Here we go again. I have frogged it all the way back. I'm about to start using the white again. Now it does say to do a set number of single crochet in the pink, 3 in the white, 4 in the pink, 3 in the white, and then the same number of single crochet again. Slip stitch, and then the next round is the same, more or less, just the numbers change a little bit. But it shouldn't be skewing like it was just from reading the instructions. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong here. Maybe I'll be able to tell in the next round. Okay, coming up to where I'm supposed to start the white now, because I did 3 white last row, and for this round I'm meant to do 5, so I should have an additional one either side, so my next one should be in white. And if I double check my stitches leading up to this, there aren't as many as I expect there to be. If I do that last one, it's too many. So what I think I might have to do here is adjust my number of stitches so that my white sections are starting in the right spots, because otherwise it's just going to skew on a crazy diagonal again. I'll be very curious to watch the video and see if it is better explained with a visual. Probably is. I'm probably just misreading or doing something wrong given the written instructions. Maybe I'm misinterpreting something. Not too sure at this point, but I'll just adjust my stitches to make the white section work, and I'll watch the video before making the next one and see if that helps to make it a bit easier. Let's have a quick look, see if this is working, and it is. It's kind of skewing still, so yeah, I definitely need to be careful on my stitch count and make sure everything's lining up. I'll frog this again and fix that up. Back in a minute. Alright, finish the white section again, and that's looking better. It's not skewing crazily on the diagonal anymore, so I just need to be really careful of my stitch count. The next round after this is white for the whole section, so it should be a little bit easier to be able to see from here on out where I need to be starting and stopping. I'll keep going with this, and I will show you the finished result in just a moment. Okay, here's a final look at how that's looking. That's a lot more squared off. It looks more correct as to the photo on the front of the packaging. So let's do some montages to speed this process up a little bit. Enjoy! Okay, so at this point I finished 3 penguins with, you know, slightly different accessories was the word. So at this point I finished 3 penguins with slightly different accessories. I've made this additional little red guy. He only has one eye because he's a pirate, and he's got his little eye patch. I don't know if I'll do anything else with him, but we've got those 4. We have our accessories for a purple penguin, so the wings, the feet, and that little one's the beak. We also have the eyes, and for her accessory I made the little bag, and I just added some little like leafy details and a little red line on it. So now that I have watched the videos, we'll be making the purple one, which needs purple and white yarn and the 3mm hook. I did this pink one off of just the instructions. You can see the seam goes on the angle, and I had to adjust the white. Each row I adjusted so that the white wasn't skewing crazily across, and you will have seen that in the previous video. This little guy, I haven't yet actually sewn his little hat on, it's just sitting there. He was the same, nice solid seam line here on the diagonal, so I adjusted his white section on each row to make sure that it did not skew crazily on that same diagonal. Little Mr. Greenie's the same, he's ready for his party. And red I made after watching the videos. He does not have a big diagonal seam. He seems a little harder to see. Not impossible. But I block out the others so we focus on here. It may not happen, but his seam is, yeah, straight down the middle. So I didn't have to adjust for his white section. He did get longer feet than the others. I just wanted to try that out. And compared to the last clip where I was making the pink one, I'll show you the main difference between the information gathered from just reading, given what's written, if you're just going off the written instructions, versus if you watch the video as well as using the instructions. I have got the instructions here, so I am working off the numbers on that, since I can't really film and watch a video at the same time right now. But we start off with a magic ring. Oops, that was a bit of a crazy loop. No matter. And I'm going to chain 1 and do our first round of single crochets, popping the stitch marker into the first single crochet of each round. I was doing that on the pink one too. So far this is no different. Now we pull our little magic ring nice and tight. This can be further tightened later. And we're going to slip stitch into that first one. Okay, now chain 1. And our next round is going to start in that same stitch. So the same stitch that has the marker. And that's our first 2 single crochets. And we're just going to pop a slip stitch into our first stitch, chain 1, and moving on to our next round. So while I do this round and the following rounds, I'm just going to chat about how I found the overall pack, just how I found the whole process, if I can keep count and talk at the same time. Let's see. So in terms of the instructions, let's start there. Just the written instructions for a beginner or someone quite young is confusing. Written instructions and video, more manageable, but I would think I've seen easier to follow videos on YouTube for beginners than this one. I'll just say that. The abbreviations in the videos are actually different again to the abbreviations in the written instructions, so that in itself, even I was like, Okay, I can't look at the written text on this video because it is just going to confuse me, because I wasn't prepared for that either. So that was very confusing. Instructions overall, as someone who is by no means an expert at crochet, but also someone who's not a beginner, I would say the instructions were very usable. Not the best translations, I'm guessing, but completely usable from my point of view. In tandem with the video, pretty good once you have that added visual assistance as well. The written instructions miss certain things. So for instance, it does not tell you at any point that for each round you should be starting in the same stitch that you slip stitched into. And I know that, well, maybe it's not, maybe that's just my perception, but I feel like anyone who's crocheted amigurumi, if that's how it's pronounced, knows how to get your stitches and rounds running straight rather than on the diagonal. But for people who perhaps aren't as versed in working in the round, it's not as straightforward to be using the slip stitch for your first, not the slip stitch, but the stitch you slip stitch into would not be the stitch I would think to use. Perhaps that's just me. So nowhere in the instructions is it written to do that. When you watch the video, they do show you that visually, which is very helpful for getting a straight seam and for the instructions making more sense in terms of keeping the white running smoothly. Written instructions alone do not mention anywhere how to attach any of the accessories or eyes, and then when you watch the videos, they actually glue them. So the plastic stick that I was quite confused about being included in the kit is, as it seems to be, a glue stick for a hot glue gun. And the way that they install the eyes is, I thought, a little bit odd, because at no point in the making of the body do they say to stop and install the eyes. These type of eyes would come out quite easily if they're just sat in. They are simply a peg. There is no end piece to secure them. They're just a simple little peg. So what they were doing, here's a good example because he has no eye. They would have placed a little bit of glue. So we're popping it in here. A little dollop of hot glue there, giving it half a second, and then pushed the eye into the hot glue. Oh, now he's a derpy pirate. And that was how they were securing the eyes. So the stuffing was already installed, everything was installed. They were just pushing it through hot glue and, you know, leaving it to luck that that actually stays in. And the rest of the appendages were hot glued on, I think, except for the wings. The wings, I think, were sewn, but they didn't even show how to sew them on. They just said you can sew them on, or you can attach them with hot glue, was what was shown. I can't remember what word they used. Something like it can be affixed or something like that was what was written, the text in the video. But essentially they were just hot gluing them in place. Even the nose or beak was hot glued in place. I know it's for beginners. I thought that was a little bit lazy though. I wouldn't be very happy if I received these for any reason, but let alone for a child or something and just found out that everything was, you know, loosely glued on. Because hot glue is not the best medium to use, I wouldn't say. Much better to sew them on. Yeah, that's my thoughts on the instructions. Not the best thing, not the worst I've seen. Materials. The wool is great, there's plenty of it. You can see how much of the white is there. I've done 4. I had enough red, even though that was only included to make a couple of accessories. There's plenty of red to do, probably even a couple of these. Plenty of the main colours as well. So I actually have the ability to create quite a few more of these if I wanted to. It did say in pretty much all of the instructions where you're making anything smaller to split the wool into, split off 3 strands and then leave the remaining 3 strands. Again, a bit confusing because the wool is only 4 strands, so you can't split off 3 and leave 3. So I was splitting it in half and using 2 strands to make some of the smaller accessories like the bows and hats and things. Other than that, like, it's a really nice wool, it's soft, it's nice and easy to work with. I think it's a good selection for a beginner's kit for sure. The tools, stitch markers, they're a touch flimsy, like it's not a very strong plastic, but they work fine. The hooks were fine. They're just a standard little hook. I've had others like this in cheaper kits that I've bought. They're nothing special. The grip is fine. The hook isn't catchy, like it's a clean hook to use. The yarn is not gripping on it or catching on it anywhere, so that's great. That was pretty much, oh, the polyfill's like, it's just polyfill, it's nothing special. Overall, I have quite enjoyed making these. There's definitely things that could be improved with the pattern, like the pattern itself is absolutely fine. It functions to create what's on the box. Same thing with the accessories. I did realize this bow, I read the written instructions wrong, so that's what the bow is actually meant to look like, but I read the instructions wrong, so I have one small bow and one large bow. This hat came out looking quite different, like just with the blue ring around it, so I extended that to turn it into more of like a bucket hat. Yeah, there's just little things I've changed personally. The bag I made just a bit longer so that I could add on a little bit of extra detail to it. Put an X on the fish because he's a dead fish, he's not alive. I also did not stuff the fish, I didn't think that was necessary. So would I recommend this kit for a brand new beginner? Honestly, yeah, probably. So long as they were planning to use the videos along with the instructions and maybe watch some, additional separate introductory content, then sure. Yeah, this is a good kit. Has plenty of materials. The quality of the wool is great. It's very easy to work with. It's soft. It's not pulling apart into its individual threads. The hooks don't separate the threads within the yarn. So it's all very friendly to use. It is quite a small scale to be working on for a beginner. I mean, I started on smaller scales because I started crocheting for my dolls, and crocheting something for a 30-40 centimeter tall doll is usually quite a fine or a small size crochet hook as well. But after making the style blankets and working with such large hooks, I would definitely think it's easy to work with a size. I honestly love working with size 4, but I would think for a beginner it's good to work with anything upwards from 4, probably better off heading up to 6, 7, 8 millimeter hooks. Like I said, honestly I love a size 4, but working the star blankets with a size 9 mil hook or a 10 mil hook, that was so fun, and super relaxing because it just feels so easy. Everything's so, compared to this where you're working tightly, everything feels so loose and fluid. It's just lovely. So I can see why people get into making things with large hooks. It's very enjoyable, very relaxing. That's 7 rounds completed. So my next round will include the white yarn, so it will be swapping yarns. And you'll see while I'm doing this one that I do not cut each round of using the white. I'm just swapping, and I only tie off the ends of the white to the purple. Alright, they had a pretty specific way they were doing their colour changes, but what I'm going to do is for this last purple stitch, I am going to pull through, I'm going to finish it with the white. I might cut here and I'll get a bit more of this done because the following rounds repeat. There's 2 rounds for the next lot of white, so we have pink, not pink, but colour in the middle. And then all these rounds more or less repeat until there's 2 decreasing rounds for the white, and then it's just the singular colour and decreasing. So I might pop back in when I'm getting down to the bottom of the white to show you the progress. So I'll be back in just a minute. This is where we are up to. I have one more round including the white. That's how the outside's looking. The seam is nice and straight, like I mentioned. I have a stitch marker in my loop so I don't unravel it while I'm messing with it. And on the inside you can see the yarn changes are nice and loose, they're not pulled tight, and somewhere in there is the end of the white, and then I have my two ends that I'm still working with, so I'll tie off that end. When I get to it I'll tie off this end, and those will be my only tie-offs. But at this point I want to put the eyes in, so they're positioned on the picture more into the middle, sort of. Oops, if I can get it to hold still. I would see like here. Most of mine are positioned there in that same sort of spot. And then if we follow that line across, we pop it there. They look wonky, don't they? Yep, they look wonky. So putting them close together makes them look wonky. Let's go further apart. I don't know about that. If we pop I know this won't look great because I'm gonna have to hold it in place. Don't know, it just looks very different compared to the other ones. I think we do that. I think we keep it in line with the others. I don't want to have one with really wide. Alright, so we have them in place. They can stay there. I'm going to, keeping them in place, flip this inside out so I can access the backs and keep 2 fingers on those so they do not slip out. Tidy up the yarn a little bit around it so I can access them. I have a glue gun heating currently. It is just a standard glue gun, nothing special. Alright, that's tidy enough. They're in position. You can see how loose all of my threads are here. They're shifting around quite a bit. Now that I've wiped off the glue gun so it is not leaking, I'm going to do the first one. Alright, I'm going to use... Oh, you cannot see that. I'm trying to make sure I don't burn myself all at the same time. And I don't know if you can see because this is kind of expelling glue at the same time, but I am melting the pin, the plastic, of the eye peg. Yes, I'll add some glue to it as well. That's flattened down quite a bit. I want to melt it down a bit more though. Not sure why this is leaking so much glue this time. It wasn't this messy last time or any of the other times. Alright, that's better. You can see that's quite melted. It's widened out the plastic quite a bit. Also just gonna glob on some glue, make sure it mixes into those surrounding bits of yarn so it's nice and well adhered. Let's just tidy that up before we go to the other one. Melting it down, just a little bit of pressure to make it squish, and that's nice and flat. Went flat quite quick because I used the metal the whole time then. Just gonna get some glue on there. Alright, I know that looks, oh that's hot, super messy. Just gonna take my hook, not getting it in the hot glue. Make sure none of these are pulled too tight by that glue because we don't want it causing any disfigurement of our round little fluff ball. Alright. Give that 1 second to dry and I'll get this glue off my finger. This one's more or less dry, it's still a little bit hot, but you can see it's nice and adhered. This guy's drying pretty quick, it's cool in here, not a bit tacky still. And these are nice and secure now. They're not going to come out by any means. But for now, I have one more round of the white and then only 5 more rounds before it finishes off. So I am on like this round here, so 1 more round of white and then just the 5 to finish off. And it advises to put in the fibre on the 19th round of 21 rounds. I put in the fibre I think on the 17th round. I find it a bit easier to put it in there, but then you do sort of battle with the fibre a little bit as you're finishing the next few rounds, and then I just top it off before I pull it tight to get a nice plump little fellow. I will keep going with this and be back when the little body is complete. So back in a minute. Okay, I'm back again with the last couple of rows done. Looks a bit dodgy here, but yeah, definitely went too far on that one. A bit skewed this one, a bit squiff. That's alright. These are not for sale or anything, so I'm not going to stress. Getting out the fibre, let's pop that in. Oh yes, I did also want to show, I might have tie up too small at this point to show this. Where are we? This side. So I've just tied off the loose ends, a few knots, tied it off to another round. That's all I've done there. Done it at the top, done it at the bottom. So in there, I should probably put that in, but I'll do it later when I'm using the needle, is just a couple loose threads and all the threads from color changes. I'm gonna kind of wad this up a little bit before putting it in, squishing it around. Doing another one. Plenty of fiber with this kit too. So this is my 5th penguin I'm making. I've stuffed 4 already. Only one is a little bit like loosely stuffed, I guess we could say. See, that's pretty firm. Might just pop a little bit extra in there. Squish that around so it's not so loose right at the bottom there where I've got to keep crocheting. That's nice and firm. At this point I'm on, I think around 18. So I've got 19, 20 and 21 to go. They usually recommend stuffing on next round, but you can imagine how much smaller the hole will be at that point. I just find it a bit easier at this point all around beforehand and then to keep crocheting. And that's even easier again when this is flipped the other way like all they were, because this doesn't curve in at that point. It actually is kind of like sitting out, so it's easier to crochet again. Yeah, I'll finish crocheting this up and be back in a moment. I'm up to the point of no more crochet. The point of pulling this closed. So, don't need a super duper long tail. And you can see how much white there is. Definitely make another purple penguin at least. Plenty of yarn left over. And we're going to pull that through. I think I want to just pop just a bit more yarn in. Not easiest to do at this point, but you gotta do what you gotta do. One more little bit on this side. Move that all around a little bit so it's not too clumpy. That's better, nice and firm. Lovely, those eyes are not going anywhere. A bit light on the side. Not sure what happened here. All good, looking cute. And they're going through the front loops. One. And who's gonna pull tight? Yeah. Is it gonna be satisfying? Here it goes. But you can come along for the ride. And where's my last one? 12. Alright, let's see if this is gonna be satisfying. Ooh, not bad. Get it any tighter. There we go. Makes a nice firm little closure. And then you can see there's still a bit of room to pull that tighter if we can. And we can't really. So let's just tie this off with a couple of knots into the hole and out a couple times just to secure that closure off. That's our little body. So it didn't take too long to work this up. This one was a little slow since I was filming it. Generally they take me 20-30 minutes to work up the body, pop the eyes in, fill it, tie it off. Next stage is sewing on the feet, the arms, the beak, and there's lots of loose threads with these because I gotta sew them on, so I might as well use the threads. So I think the bag, because I didn't want the bag to go like up over the head. Yeah, it doesn't in the picture either, it like goes over where the other shoulder would be. I didn't want it too tight because I can put some stitches through the bag as well, like I did with Pirate Penguin's little eye patch. This part is adhered at a couple points so that it's not going to just like roll all the way off. We'll have a wing that can reach in, and a wing on this side maybe pulling the strap down. No, this is confusing. I reckon a wing that can reach into the bag for sure, since I can like pop stuff in there. Little feet, one will probably be covered by the bag. I'll work out what to do with this wing. But that is where I'm going to stop for now. I'll attach the accessories and show you again once Purple Penguin has her accessories on. Purple is all finished. I've attached all of his, hers, theirs, I don't know. Attached all of the accessories. The little feet, the bag so the hand can reach. hand wing can reach in. I wouldn't mind making like a little flower crown for this one, honestly, and making a little couple spare bows or something to put in here, like it's going to give them to the pink one or something. But those are just little things I would like to do, not things I'm necessarily going to do right now. Yeah, if I do that before this video comes out, I guess I can insert a photo here. So if there's no photo, I didn't end up getting around to it just yet. The seam is a little bit off kilter actually. That's probably more me than the instructions, because I know it can turn out nice and straight as shown on here. Sewed on all of the little accessories and limbs. You saw me glue the eyes in and insert the stuffing, and purple is all done. Now we have 5 little penguins. The kit showed 4 with their set little accessories. I've made 5, I could definitely make some more, and I did not follow the accessories. So if we look at what's left in the box, I've got quite a bit of scrap, which I've just kept for if I wanted to do little additional bits. Like the bows and things don't take much yarn, so scrap material could be used for that. In terms of the colours used for the main bodies, there's heaps of white, plenty of pink. Could definitely make another 1 or 2, maybe even 3 more pinks. Definitely enough to do multiples of the penguins and different colour sets. You could, at a push, probably get away with a yellow penguin with this much, but it might be a bit of a struggle, and then you'd be out of wool for any of the other, feet beaks. This is the dark blue used for the fish and some of the accessories. I reckon you could probably make one out of that. And this is what's left after the couple of accessories with the red and making a complete penguin. So you could see I probably won't get away with another penguin unless I was making like a multicolored one. I think a blue and pink, like these pastel blue and pinks, always makes me think of cotton candy. You could do like a little patchy one, or you could use them both at once and make a slightly thicker one. Plenty of white to do more. You could do a full white penguin with a different coloured centre. Yeah, lots of options. So there's lots of room to make mistakes with what is given. There's also plenty of polyfill left. I would say I maybe used half. Yeah, maybe about half I used. And even after making 5, this guy's only got 1 eye, and I did not use an eye on the fish. I do actually have an extra set of eyes, so I could still make an additional 2-eyed penguin. Overall, it's a great kit. There's plenty of excess material for mistakes. I don't love the idea of gluing on all of the accessories. That doesn't really sit that well with me personally. When sewing on little things like this, like these only take a couple stitches and they're sewed on very securely. Like, it's not a hard thing, it's a good thing to learn. There's plenty of room to modify and make this really your own. Plenty of room to make additional little creations if you are so inclined. And the instructions lend themselves to multiple creations, multiple accessories, with very little modification. It takes you through a lot of basic stitches, including half double crochets, decreases, increases, doubles, singles, slip stitch, chain stitch, working in the round. There is a video on how to make a magic ring if you use the QR codes to access the videos, and yeah, working in the front loop only as well. So it's a nice kit to get familiar with creating things, particularly in use with the videos. Wouldn't recommend not checking out the videos if you're a beginner and want to get this and try it out. I'll see if I can find this on Amazon. If I can, I'll link it down below. Hope you enjoyed watching me try out this crochet kit. Let me know if you would do anything differently, if you liked how they turned out, and if you'd like to see me try out any other kits in particular. I'll see you again in the next video. Have a great day. Bye.